Hi, welcome back to Two Brothers Opinions. My name is Barry. This is my brother Mark.
Right, so we're gonna do a we want to do an episode,
We're always
and
laughing.
we're gonna dedicate this to my uncle's wife, who wants us to do this.
Okay, this is for you, Linda.
Yes, Linda, this is for you.
Dude, look like some lady.
So yes, I mean, part of this is going to be more serious about like today's society and culture.
Yeah.
But yes, we're gonna entitle this, as you will see when you look it up, "She's a Dude." So, we were thinking about this, and I was thinking like, okay, way back, and you can go back to Dr. Renee Richards. I think she played tennis, but her real name was Richard Raskin.
Okay.
Was back, got to be back in the, at least I remember, so it has to be at least maybe the 60s. And it was one of the first persons that I knew. It was like, oh wow, like this person actually had an operation and like transitioned to a woman.
Okay.
But it was in the news, and then who cares? It's like, how do you live your life?
Now it's constantly.
Now it's like in your face
all the time.
Yeah, and if you don't, agree with it, people like get pissed at you. It's like, listen, if you want to do whatever, we've always said that. If you want to do whatever, I don't care. Go do it. Just you don't have to run around and stick it in people's faces and go, hey, look, now you have to. It's like the whole pronouns thing. If you're not using them, well, you know what?
I don't want to use.
I'm going to talk.
That's right.
I'm going to say what I want to say.
You don't like it, too bad.
And that's free speech. First Amendment stuff. We're not denigrating people or putting, because I really don't care what you're doing.
No.
But he was the first person that I remember going through this kind of stuff. And then
me growing up, I don't remember any of that.
Yeah, and then being from Connecticut, when Bruce Jenner won the decathlon, I mean, we're all like, oh my God, this guy from Connecticut, and he wins the decathlon in the Olympics, 76 Olympics, I believe.
I think it was, yeah.
And yeah, the state of Connecticut was proud. Like, oh my God, we have like they were titled the best athlete in the world if you won the decathlon.
Mm-hmm.
And here he was, guy from Connecticut. And we don't have like the best weather and all this other stuff to be out there doing all kinds of stuff, but track and field or whatever. But, and then he, I don't think he's fully transitioned. I don't think he's had an operation. But, now he's Caitlyn Jenner. And again, it was like, it appears from what I know, like he doesn't want to throw in people's faces either. I mean, he's just living his life. Who cares?
Or her life.
Or her life. And right. And
please correct yourself.
And I'll be honest with you, like there was, when I was a therapist, I actually did therapy with a couple, marriage counseling, husband and wife. Did therapy. It was pretty successful. They left. Years later, they come back. Something else happened, but what walks in is the wife and the wife. So the husband he didn't have the operation, but he was trans. And so I'm talking to them, and she would say something, and I would like, well, what did he say? And then I would say, you got to remember, I said to them, I talked to you when you guys were husband and wife.
Right.
I said, it's going to slip out. So
I don't think they were offended.
No, they weren't at all. I said, no disrespect, but it's going to slip out. Yeah. I said, not only because of that, but because I'm doing marriage counseling, and typically I'm going to be saying
husband
100 times a day. I'm going to be saying, him and her, husband and wife.
Right.
So they were cool about it. Like, it didn't bother them.
And I could deal with that.
Yeah. And the other part that made it more difficult was he didn't look like a woman.
Well,
that was, like some people kind of do, but
here's my story.
He didn't.
So I was one of my 10,000 jobs. I was
joking over.
Yeah, I was a manager of a convenience store and a gas station, and this guy dressed like a woman, had female, had breasts, not fully transitioned. Would come in all the time and buy Marlboro Reds and the soda, whatever. And he said to me one day, do you know why I keep coming back here? Because you're the only person that doesn't make fun of me and treats me like I should be treated.
As a customer.
And I said, exactly what I said. I said, you're a customer.
Right.
I said, I said, look, I don't care that you come in with size 14 pumps. I mean, the guy was big. His hands were huge, but I treated that person like I would treat any person.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Well, number one, it doesn't matter to us.
No.
But number two, it's like, it's a human being. So you treat them with respect, especially if that's your job.
Yeah.
Working there and you got customers coming in. Yeah.
My job counted on people coming into that business.
Yeah.
They don't come, that place folds up, I'm out of a job.
Yeah, but we were in at one of the local casinos in Connecticut and going to see a basketball game. And we're standing in line and I got a tap on the shoulder and I hear, is this the line for season ticket holders? And I turned around and this guy was fully dressed as a woman. He had a dress on, makeup, pearls, but he had a better beard than I did. I mean, he had a 5 o'clock shadow that most people would be envious of. And his partner, whatever, looked just like him. All dressed up, but needed a shave. And that guy really didn't care. But at the same time, it's like, dude, if you're going to do this, at least go all the way.
Electrolysis or something,
Or something. But anyways, and then if you go back to, and again, we're only going to hit a few people, but you go back to Sonny and Cher, and they had a daughter, Chastity Bono,
who was a gorgeous little girl.
Yeah, she was cute. She was on their TV show and everything else.
Yeah, beautiful blonde hair,
right? And is now Chaz Bono,
who looks hideous.
Yeah, yeah.
Should have stayed a little girl.
And then one of the reasons it's in the news now, is because of Riley Gaines and what happened to her with Leah Thomas, who was actually William Thomas. He was a swimmer in college and couldn't beat anybody.
Except for women.
And then, identified as a woman, didn't have any surgery because they're all saying there was a bulge in his pants. But was dressing in the dressing room with all these girls, college age.
Which is wrong.
College age girls.
Which is absolutely wrong.
And beating most of them. Now, I believe Riley Gaines was on our Olympic swimming team. So we're talking like world class kind of swimmer. Mm-hmm. And they tied in one race. I'm down to the 10th of a second. They tied. And they gave the trophy to him.
Her.
Yeah, him. Yeah, Bill. They gave it to Billy. And they said, well, we have to give it to him because it's like, what do you mean? It's a tie.
Yeah, it's a tie.
Then they tied.
They should both stand on the podium in that spot together.
Right. And I saw an interview.
Which would happen anything else.
Right. That's the problem.
Even auto racing.
Yep.
Motorcycles. Yep. Whatever. They would stand together.
You both get up there because you both won first.
Absolutely.
And
they would both get the medal or whatever.
Right.
The trophy,
whatever. Yeah, whatever. At least you're getting recognition for the fact that you tied.
Correct.
But it was funny because Riley Gaines, her husband, is a swimmer. And she said, now she's like an Olympic world champion and stuff. She goes, he kills me every time we swim. She goes, I can't beat my husband. So everyone knows. And then there was the famous with Serena Williams. They said, she was number one in the world and top athlete. And they asked her one time, what would happen if you played against a guy? And she goes, I'd get beat in 10 minutes. Be 6-love, I'd be done.
And she's a top player in the world.
Yeah, and
her and her sister.
Yeah, and she admitted it. She's no, she said it's a totally different game.
Yeah. Yep.
And so, our society tries to shove stuff in people's faces instead of letting it happen.
Again.
Instead of letting it happen organically. Whatever.
It would become more acceptable if it wasn't shoved in your face.
I guess you go back to maybe the 40s, 50s, 60s or whatever, San Francisco, the steam rooms or whatever, where that's where the gay community went. Mm-hmm. And everybody knew that. But it wasn't thrown in people's faces. And over time, having a gay friend or whatever, not a big deal.
No.
Because it just happened organically. But when you shove it in people's faces and you try
There's going to be pushback.
You try and force it to happen, people don't like it.
Speaking of shoved in the face, didn't Macron,
Yes.
the president
of France?
I
Yeah.
think his wife is a dude.
There is a rumor.
Yeah.
I mean, we haven't checked, but
No, haven't peeked under the skirt.
there is a rumor that Macron's wife is a dude, and then there's another rumor.
That rumor goes way back.
As a former president of the United States, there's a rumor that
you mean Michael Robinson?
Yeah, Michael Robinson was married to Barack Obama.
Who's Michelle?
Yeah, but that's a rumor.
But the rumor's really. There's a lot of evidence behind that rumor.
Yeah,
if you really want to look it up. He's given a speech to, I think it was the Joint Chiefs or some naval thing, and he goes, Michael and I. He said it 4 or 5 times. Michael and I. Now, my girlfriend's name is Miriam. I never called her Michael.
No.
or anything else.
Or Martin. Or
Yeah.
Yeah.
Never called her a dude's name.
No. So, again, we're not going to get sued because we have no idea about those. But that's in the news.
It's in the news.
It's in the news. So we're just reporting what's in the news. Yeah. But the other stuff, Caitlyn Jenner, Leah Thomas, Chaz Bone or whatever. And then there's the infamous Alexander Vindman, who was Lieutenant Colonel Vindman, who he was in Biden's cabinet or something. Mm-hmm. He was pretty high up if he wasn't in the cabinet. But it's another one. It's like, come on.
Wasn't it the Surgeon General too?
I don't know.
Was it Surgeon General?
I don't think so.
Someone in the middle.
I don't know. But I know it was him.
He was dressed up in a skirt.
He dressed up in a skirt and had long hair.
Yeah, it's a guy.
It looked like a guy. I mean,
it is a guy.
Yeah, it is a guy. I mean, there's I remember listening to Imus in the morning, and he always used to tell a story about when he was in the Marines, and he went to a bar, and he picked up this girl.
I remember that story.
Right. And then he didn't find out till they got back to the hotel that she's a dude.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he was totally holy cow. I didn't know.
That's, I think, in, is it the Philippines? They call them ladyboys?
Yeah, I think you're right. Now, I know.
Some of them are beautiful.
When I was in college.
Really? I mean, they're absolutely beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Speaking of, people who think they're beautiful. Remember Bud Light, Dylan Mulvaney?
Yeah, Bud Light took a hit on that, huh?
Yeah, that was, again, shoving it in people's faces. Dylan Mulvaney is a guy, is a dude. Yeah. But when I was in college, I had a professor who would live on the island of Tonga during the summer.
Oh, really?
As part of her...
Never heard this story.
Yeah, as part of her research and stuff. And every summer lived there. She was there so much that they made her a part of the tribe. They literally made her one of the family.
Honorary.
Yeah. She said in their culture, if you have 7 boys, right? You have 7 kids, they're all boys. The last one is raised as a girl. And the whole tribe, the whole island accepts that that's a girl because they need someone to take care of other people. So they dress as a girl, they act as a girl, they learn how to cook and clean and all this other stuff as a girl. And in their culture, that's normal. So it's not shoving it in people's face. It's just normal. But that last kid is raised as a girl.
Oh, wow.
Because they need...
It's pretty interesting.
Because once the mom gets old and dies off, they need someone to take care of the other 6 siblings.
Mm-hmm.
So, so she was saying it, but that's a tribal, cultural thing that you don't have to go on the news at night and say, look, you have to accept this. Yeah. It's just their culture.
So not throwing it in people's faces, it gets more accepted.
Yeah. Over time, it does.
Yeah.
Yeah. But when you force people, it's like, in a weird way, I just thought about it. It's like immigration. If it happens normally, cool. Irish, Italians, Puerto Ricans, South Americans, Europeans, they all come here. If they come here legally.
Yeah, but Puerto Rico is a...
Yeah, I know. I'm just saying,
Commonwealth.
Yeah. But I'm just saying, Mexican, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
If they come here legally and they become part of the United States and our culture, Nobody has a problem with them.
No.
But you let, 15 million of them cross the border,
there's a problem.
They got a problem. And if you're told you have to accept them, or you have to pay your taxes to take care of these people who broke into the country and are criminals, no, I'm not going to accept them.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say that. I was listening to Joe Rogan on the way up here, and he was talking about his great-grandfather. When he came here, he wasn't accepted because he was Italian.
Yeah.
First of all, he's dark-skinned.
Right.
Southern Italy, Sicily. You get really dark-skinned Italians.
Yeah.
And how he was basically treated terrible.
Yeah, the Italians weren't treated well.
And then
the Irish didn't like them.
Yeah. And they were treated terrible when they first came, the Irish.
Yeah.
So it all just ran downhill.
It always does. And then over time, everybody blends together.
Acceptable.
Yeah. And then you're the melting pot, which we're supposed to be, not the boiling pot because people are shoving stuff in your face.
I think, we're going to get off topic,
No, we're going to circle around.
We're going to circle around. But the thing is, I think when you bring Muslims, and I got nothing against the Muslim religion or people that are Muslim. I really don't. That's what you believe in. That's what you believe in.
Right.
But when you bring 15 million Muslims into a country and you want that country to change,
right,
there's an issue.
Yeah.
I got an issue with that.
Yep.
We're not going into Sharia law or none of that. Go look at some of the pictures of what's the capital of Afghanistan? Is it Kabul?
It might be, yeah.
Go look at some of the pictures in the 70s.
Oh.
The girls were in college wearing mini skirts, educating themselves. And then
now, if you read a book, they cut your head off.
They're covered. They're non-educated. They cannot have a book. They can't read. They can't better themselves.
Yeah.
What happened to that?
Well,
under that religion,
the Islamists took over.
Yeah. The strong. What do they call that? I forget the word I'm looking for.
Well, yeah, and while you're thinking of that, but the other thing is too is if you're gay, whatever, right over there, they throw you off a building.
Yeah,
it kill you. Yeah. But everybody thinks that they're wonderful. So again, not to get too far off track, but when Trump and the current administration said, "Hey, we're being flooded here with all kinds of people that we don't know who the heck they are."
Yeah.
And he would name off, they're from mental institutions, jails, and they're murderers, rapists, and blah blah blah. And he even mentioned the Congo, when he's talking about Venezuela and all these other places. And then we see that there's this a suspect in the Minnesota lawmaker killing. So they were state legislators, and they were murdered
because they voted against the Democratic Party.
Yeah, I think so.
Yes.
But so they're saying, who is Vance Luther Bolter? And they want to know who this is, right? So come to find out, Bolter is reportedly the CEO of Red Lion Group, based in the Democratic Republic of Congo. And he's a Praetorian Guard Security Services, according to Minnesota's African United website. So it's here you go. It's people don't like Trump. People love him. People don't like him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look at what he said, it all comes true.
Yeah.
They're, when they would say, they're letting in rapists and murderers, and then what would the Democratic...
They're not giving us
what would the best. Democratic Party... Yeah, right. They're not sending us their best and brightest. Democratic Party, you hate all people. He never said that. Mm-hmm. He just said, look what's coming. And then, look what's here. You got all kinds of stuff. You have those two... the husband was they're engaged. Husband, boy and girl, coming out of New York. I think it was a Jewish center.
Oh, yeah.
That guy walks up and shoots him, kills him.
Yep.
And then the woman was still trying to, after being shot, she was trying to drag herself away. He reloaded and then shot her again.
Her. Yeah.
I mean, this is ridiculous. So, and so it all goes back, everything that's happening, and there's still a lot coming, I think. But it all goes back to stop shoving stuff in people's faces. Stop trying to change the culture and change society so rapidly. If you let it happen on its own organically, it will. So, the whole thing is like, if she's a dude, then she's a dude. I don't care.
No.
But don't make me have to, bow down to the woke mob who say you have to.
I'm never done.
I ain't doing that.
No, not at all.
So,
not at all. Because I treat everybody the same. I don't care what you look like or what you've done to your body.
No,
what
I
you
don't
cut
care.
off and replaced it with.
If you treat me and talk to me with respect, I'll talk to you with respect. I don't care what color you are or whatever. I mean, there's white people I don't like.
A ton of them.
Yeah.
A lot of them I don't like.
But that's just because of who they are, not what they are.
Correct.
So if she's a dude,
she's a dude.
Then she's a dude. But it's who you are, not what you are. So if you're a nice person, I don't care. I'll talk to you with respect. You ask me a simple question, I'll tell you a simple answer.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, you're in this line or you're in the wrong line. But if I say, well, you're in the wrong line, like if like going back to that the example I used, if the guy said, hey, is this the line for the season ticket holder? And I said, no, you're in the wrong line. If he said, oh, you think I'm in the wrong line because I'm a girl? That would have been like, what are you talking about?
No, you're in the wrong line.
That's someone who's looking for an argument.
Yeah.
Instead of just saying, oh, I'm sorry, which line am I supposed to be in? Oh, I think if you're not season ticket holder, you're supposed to be over here with all the other dudes. Anyways.
Without dresses and pearls.
Yeah. and a 5 o'clock shadow that I admired. It was good.
Oh my God, that's funny.
So anyways, that was our ode to Linda, our uncle's wife.
Ode to Linda.
Yeah. And hopefully, Linda, you enjoyed this.
Yep. So once again, thank you for watching our video. Like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell.
And you have a voice, and don't let anyone silence it. And at this point, don't let anybody shove it in your face.
Either. Correct.
All right.
All righty.
We'll
see you on the next video. Yeah. It's coming soon.
To a theater near you. Bye.
Bye-bye.